Hello, everyone. How are you? How are you? Happy Tuesday. This is episode number 79 of the TERRAN Lamp Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello, Cheryl. I'll get you right in. And hello, Brandy and Carolina. Hello. This is episode number 79 of the TERRAN Lamp Show. Make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. You're subscribing to the podcast. Make sure you're sharing the show with your family and friends. If you have a story, and I know you do, Brandy, you're going to be on here. If you have a story, and I know you do, I would love to have you on the show. Make sure you get in contact with me. Send me a message. Send me a direct message on Instagram, or if you have my cell phone number, please make sure you get a hold of me. I would love to have you right here on the show. If you know someone who has a story, I would love to have them on the show. So make sure you hook us up. Send us a message. Get us together. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Apple Podcast now. This is episode number 79. Just real quick, I am looking for the February 15th episode. If you know a great couple for Valentine's Day, the Valentine's Day episode. If not, I can always just talk. But I'd love to have a great couple on here that to share their love story or to share their journey. So if you know a couple, or if you happen to be in a relationship that you'd love to share your love story for February 15th this year coming up, I'm looking for a couple if they're out there. So again, all proceeds for the show, if you do Cash App me, I'm going to put my Cash App in the comments. All proceeds for the show go to help a heart disease and cancer patient in need. So let me put my Cash App up here really quickly. Yes, so that's my Cash App. Just make sure you're putting Survivor in the comments, and all proceeds for today's show go to heart disease and cancer patients in need. The other thing I'm starting is, if you would like to sponsor a show, so if you would like a shout out on my Instagram or a shout out on the show, get a hold of me. I am starting to take sponsors for the show. I can tell you more about that specifically when you contact me. But if you are a small or even large business, or maybe know someone who'd like to sponsor the show, I'm trying to get the word out there, trying to be more philanthropic with the show, again, to help heart disease and cancer patients in need. So if you would like to sponsor the show, if you're a small business, or even if you're a big business, would like to sponsor a show and get a shout out, get a hold of me. I would love to shout you out, and I would love to, of course, continue to make the show more philanthropic. This is the TERRAN Lamb Show, episode number 79. Let me get my guest on here, Cheryl. Cheryl, let's see. Can I add you? Let me see. So you guys, this is Cheryl. Cheryl, hello.
Hello.
Was on last week. You may remember her face from last week. We had some, getting started, and we have a part 2. And I'm not gonna. If you go back and watch last week's episode if you didn't get a chance to see it, because I don't want to steal the thunder. And then I'm going to let her just go ahead and take it. Thank you so much for coming on for part 2.
You're welcome.
I know we talked about, the things that, there we go, I can see myself and you better, that you do last time. And I know you're kind of like multifaceted, but one thing I said when I put on your last time, when I was like at the end of the show, I feel like what you do and all things you do, you're from the heart. And I know that's kind of part of what you do, but there's things that you do, but it seems like to me, the different things you do, you're all giving back and doing it from the heart. So I really appreciate it. And when I reached out, you guys, to Cheryl and said, hey, you want to do a part 2? She was right on it. She was like, no worries, no problem. And it's interesting because, sometimes you feel like people, you're just kind of connected to them, but you just, like, okay, here we go, So I just appreciate your time and appreciate your giving of your time, again, from the heart. So again, if you want to maybe recap or share what you'd like to share as far as part 2 of your journey. I have some water here, so don't mind me.
I love it.
Yeah, smile too, by the way. Do people
What was
tell
that?
you have a great smile?
Oh, thank
Do
you
people
so
tell you
much.
that?
Both, I get them both from my parents. I say
Yeah.
they're both passed on years ago, but that's who I attribute my smile from. So thank you for that.
Okay.
So part two, I emphasized what I did. Again, I'm a certified Christian life coach. I'm also a financial professional, and so I do financial coaching as well, more geared to securing people's retirements, still with upside potential, but not putting risk in the market. I do tax-free strategies and things like that. So we could also highlight that. It aligns with where my business is and where my heart is, just like what you said, Taryn, because my heart is more empowering women. And that's what my business is. It's One Heart Empowered, and it's more focusing on God's heart to get you aligned, your mindset aligned on Him, instead of what's in the past, what's happened in the past, or what's going on in the future, because many of us have racing thoughts. There's so much stress and anxiety and a lot of fear. And so my past experience has been, I've been a busy, like, single mom for the past 20 years. My divorce happened when my son was a month old. I was in the corporate sales world, and much like you are, Taryn, but I had a lot of different experiences in my past where it led to identity issues, codependency issues, and resulting in debilitating fear and anxiety. And so I shared a little bit, but I had a neat story with my ex-husband, of how I was able to minister him to Christ through all that as God led the forgiveness process. But also I have dealt with just overcoming through God, overcoming my debilitating fear and anxiety and codependency, identity issues.
I want to ask you, you kind of mentioned it in the beginning. So let's tie it together, because I feel like the finance and these things, like I'm sure there's men out there too, but we're speaking from women because that's what we know, because that's what we are. So if there's any men on the line, you can feel free to chime in. But I know that, that's something that sometimes is a fearful situation, could be a fearful situation. I can imagine in your story specifically how finances kind of played a role, or maybe finances played a role, in your anxiety. So is that kind of what led you? I mean, you must love the subject, number one, but is that kind of what led you to say, this is a topic that a lot of us need to know about when we're in these really tough, anxious situations, right? Because it could go not so great in those moments.
Well, 100%. And especially, in my position, in the job that, the career that I had, that industry alone, there wasn't a lot of stability in it. Your company could decide at a drop of a hat, we don't need you anymore, and then you're without a job. So a lot of it, has a desire to really coach women on how to secure a nest egg, right? But there are other strategies. That's why I love being a financial professional. I'm not a financial advisor. An advisor is the one that advises you on what to do and how to invest in the market. My what I do is, again, I secure things like retirement. So if there's individuals that have had past jobs with their 401k, 403b, things like that, and they can then do something with that. And so I help them secure it, because as we know, with this whole pandemic that's been going on, with job changes going on, and the government keeps on funding us with all this extra money, but something's got to give and something's got to break. And so that's what I do, is I actually give free financial education of different options, different tax-free strategies. And it just aligns with my core values of who I am, because it's empowering individuals on what else they can do, so they're not stressed out, like, what's going to happen? Is that the market is going to crash? How can I secure my investments?
It's giving that option where people don't know their options, right?
Yep. absolutely. And that's what I do, give options. Yes.
And I think, like I said, like we talked about with, I mean, I'm just, again, speaking from somebody who has anxiety. I think that that is, a big anxious button. And I can imagine in that time of, divorce, or in that time of sickness, for instance, that you're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive through this sickness? I got myself when I was diagnosed with cancer, of just thinking,
Yes.
is my husband secure, future, or future secure for to happen to me, or am I going to be able to treat the way I need to treat, and do the things I need to do? And I feel like, again, it's so much of a heart thing. It's a money thing too, clearly, but your heart is just like all over the place, and so invested when you're going through such a tough time.
I love that you said that. It's true. And that's why I really do believe in what I offer, including life insurance, because there's new types of policies out there. So just to stress on that, there are different types of life insurances that you can actually own for the rest of your life instead of rent, like a term insurance. Term insurance is, could be 10 years, 30 years, but once it's done, it's done. The other type of life insurance, you can start investing where you can save money in a policy and build a tax-free strategy. And if you have an emergency, for example, some kind of accident or something like that, you can take loans out against a policy which is tax-free. And if you aren't able to pay it back, it is just taken out of the death benefit at the time of passing.
So and just giving those options to people. And you're not saying one is over the other. You're just kind of saying, like, there's options. Hey, Janine, that people have options. Now, what do you find in the so I'm thinking about in the finance realm, but you're coaching, so what are some of the things people come across, or people might, like, how might they butt heads? Because you're coaching. I just feel like, I feel like I can see myself moving along, and then when I start talking about my finances, I'm like, wait a minute.
This is totally different.
Yeah, this is totally, So what are some of the things, do you feel like they run parallel? Do you feel like they're perpendicular? How does that intersection between coaching and finances, what's the meat?
Well, I think two things. I love that you asked that question, but number one, when you're coaching, you do have to develop a trust and a confidence, a confidence in the person that you're dealing with. And the fact, if I'm licensed as well. And so I do separate the two when I start doing my financial profession. If I were to coach on a financial situation, then coaching is something that does not deal with advising. It's really helping align and strategizing, and helping the person come up with a strategy where they can start saving money, or what their goal is to help achieve their goal. Okay. If it deals with my financial profession, then that would be something where I would give a free education. And then if they're looking into it, then we would separate the two and would basically go into the financial profession that way, where I am licensed to talk about what I'm licensed to talk about.
Okay.
Now, does that answer?
Yeah, no, I think, okay, so I feel like hi, Lynn, hello. I think they run parallel. But one thing that I think about is, oh my goodness, I lost my thought for a second. One thing, I feel like they run parallel, but at the same time, like, yeah, I guess it would be interesting to me to try to kind of dissect them. I think from your standpoint as the person giving the information, I understand to separate them. You know what I mean? My perspective as getting the information, I feel like, I know what I was going to say. I feel like both things are, give a man a fish he can eat for whatever, but teach him how to fish he can eat forever, whatever that saying. So I feel like both things for me are kind of teaching me how to fish, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that both of them, whether you're coaching me on life or whether you're coaching me on finance, even though from your perspective they're two different areas and rows, for me they're teaching me how to fish either in life or in finance. That's what I want to say.
Perfect. I love that. And it coincides with my desire to want to empower a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
even families, because it's teaching them what other options are out there besides just investing everything all in one nutshell.
Yeah.
You know, a person can invest completely in houses, or they can invest in the stock market or the Bitcoin, but to give them other options where they can diversify themselves, to me, is empowering someone for their future. And that's what I love to do.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to that, right? It all comes down to this empowerment. And
Mm-hmm.
there's so many ways we can get empowered,
Yeah,
and empower others. Now, let me ask you this. I didn't ask you this before, and we didn't actually talk about this part too. So what I was going to ask you, so now I feel like I can ask you anything.
I love it.
What empowers you?
Oh my goodness. Um, that's a loaded question. The first is my Lord and Savior, foremost, because he has gotten me through so much. But also what empowers me is knowing I can help someone that has been in my shoes, or
Mm-hmm.
that I can relate, and I can help provide them get through the certain challenge that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that it's shortened their time span compared to what my time span was.
Yeah.
And just the revelation that I could give them, to give them hope that yes, whatever they're going through, they can get through it. And it's not just me, but it's me being a vessel for God to show them, to spring the light that yes.
The reason I asked that question is because this actually happened to me today. I was having a discussion with someone, and they were saying that someone asked them, for people like you, who we didn't have this discussion, you guys, earlier today, but this happened with someone else today, who give and who empower other people so much. How do we give and feed back to ourselves so that we don't get drained? And so you are empowered.
Mm.
And so, as opposed to, you're always giving and empowering others, how do we stay empowered and filled?
Now,
That conversation today with someone else.
that is a great question right there. And it's so incredibly important and crucial. And I spend my time with the Lord. First and foremost, I have a routine in the morning, of course. And so that has led to it. My prayer and intimacy with the Lord, but other things that fill me, because yes, you do have to do self-care on yourself. So I do work out, not too extreme. My age, I'm 52. I'm not afraid to admit it, but I can't work out like I used to. But I make sure I make time for something. I make sure I make time to be outdoors, period. And then,
Gerald's in California, by the way, guys. I know there are some of us that are watching from lesser, warmer.
apologies on that. But another thing is making sure I have quality time with genuine friends.
Mm.
So important that you stay connected with community. I think one of the questions that was so important that was hit on last week is, what is one thing that I could take away with all of you? And I mentioned not to isolate.
Mm.
And it is so important that you have a group of people, and if you don't, to look for it. Whether it be, Facebook pages. I mean, there's anxiety, there's stress and anxiety pages. Yeah. There's different things that you could reach out to, but you keep on doing that. You do not isolate, because then you start convincing yourself in your head it's real what's going on, and there's no hope.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that was a big one. I forgot the exact question, but I do remember someone asked it. And if you guys, if you have any questions for Cheryl, please feel free to put those in the comments. Someone asked that last week, and I thought that was a good one, not isolate. And I think the other thing we talked about was hope,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know,
100%.
to always have hope.
And I think that's what happens in our minds. And why I say isolation is so incredibly dangerous is because what we think in our minds, it's not just what we think about ourselves, but what we fester in our minds. And if we're worried about the stock market, if we're worried about a crash, or if we're worried about our job, if we're not sharing those thoughts out loud, it
Mm.
becomes real inside here. And I think one of the things that I hit on last week was once we start to believe what's real in our mind, then it just overcompensates. We fester on it and all of those racing thoughts. And it's so important to get those thoughts out. And it's empowering when you start realizing what you have believed in your mind for so long is not true, because that's where we start losing our hope. And
Oh, can you see that one, Cheryl? Is your work limited to the U.S. or do you give advice on people located in other countries?
I'm so glad that you asked that question. So I'm virtual. So yes, I can do other countries. I have done that and I'm willing to do that. And I have my website is
Yeah.
oneheartempowered.com. I also have Instagram under One Heart Empowered. Thank you so much for that. And then I will be doing a TikTok as well. Right now, I have one for my financial side, which is called Be Financially Empowered. And I do a lot of free teachings on that where
Is
I
it E
started.
or the B?
It's BE. So Be Financially Empowered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So thank you so much for asking that.
Thanks, Carolina, for asking that question. That's a good question because now you never know, and the world is made smaller or bigger. I don't know which one. Probably smaller with virtual, right? That's a good question. Thank you for asking. If you have a question, please feel free to type it in the comments. And so, Cheryl, what is your you said your website? Yeah,
oneheartempowered.com.
yeah, that's right.
And on that website, since you brought that up again, I have certain videos that I've posted on the website. And 3 of them in particular are of my own testimony.
Mm.
And they're 30 minutes each because I don't think a person has an hour and a half long to watch. But they're on different subjects. So one is about my divorce, where it happened where my son was a month old. I had lost my parents, that type of thing, and how I just pressed into God's heart and he helped me through it and helped me through my forgiveness process because there was betrayal. And then the second portion is just about being that busy career single mom and the things that go through. And there's a wonderful ending about what happens between me and my ex-husband. We don't get back together, but there's a lot that happens that God works out. The other one I think is very profound because I think it applies to many women that I speak to and that I have just a heart for, and that's professional women who either they've had children, they're single mom,
Mm.
just difficulties in their careers. And what I found is I was often wearing a mask, just that saying, fake it till you make it. But inside you are just riddled with stress, anxiety, fear, to where it's almost debilitating you. I was on medications. I will be honest with you. I was taking anxiety medications, depression, that type of thing. But once I realized the idols that I was chasing, and what was going on and what I didn't trust God with, there was so much of weight that was lifted off my shoulders. I found freedom. I was able to sleep because I had incredible insomnia, and I had a medication for sleeping medication that did an adverse effect on me. So I was getting 1 to 2 hours of sleep every night.
Oh, no.
And it's all said in my testimony, but I'm not saying that's the key. Is what happened with me is applies to every single woman. But I will tell you the process that I went through and that I take women through. I was able to just slowly just deter off of my medications, and I'm not on them anymore. I have such freedom in that.
When you said slowly, it also, I was thinking about this before, but it begs the question to be patient with ourselves.
Yes.
How important is that? Because this is not an overnight process, folks.
It is. And we tend to beat ourselves up over that. Mm-hmm. Excuse me.
Yep.
And to realize a lot of us go through these situations for years. Mm-hmm. So it does not take just one time. It's a retraining of your mind, and that's what I help you with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a process. I mean, you know, you think about working out or those physical processes that our bodies goes through, you know, our mental processes are, if not more important, you know, if just important, if not more important, then, you know, like you said, it's a process training your mind, just like you train your body, you know.
100%.
Take time. You have to take time to do that and unravel a lot of different things as you're going through this quagmire of this little thing we call life, you know.
Oh my goodness, so much so.
However you want to say it, you know.
Yes.
But I think what you do, I think when people do things, and even as, again, putting yourself in the coach position and putting myself in the coachee position, if you will, I think when, you know, what's so important is when you do things from the heart, which is what we originally, coming back full circle, when I, as a person being coached or the person seeking coaching, do get pour of myself of the heart and authentically, you know, that helps you do your job, right? And then you reciprocate the whole pouring from the heart, then, you know, you start to get a lot of things on the table that you wouldn't have gotten, you know, in the beginning, or that you didn't think of.
100%.
Hard and coming and shooting straight from the heart, you know?
100%. The women that I have coached at the end of the sessions are just completely elated because there's self-discoveries that they make in themselves. They never, ever knew that was there. They never knew what they were believing was a lie. They never knew what they could achieve until someone comes alongside and helps believe in them, encourage them, and partner with them. And these are women that are just at rock bottom.
I like when you say believe, encourage, and partner. I like that saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And empower.
Yeah.
I mean, because by the end of the session, usually like I have a 12-week session, it's like they feel so completely free and empowered because the fact of the matter is, no matter what, we're always going to have challenges in our life. Mm-hmm. But if you have tools to help equip you with that, so you know, you have more of an open mindset. Okay, I'm going to overcome this. That's
to teach a man how to fish. That's what I was saying in the beginning, right? You give him the tools so you can teach us how to get through it, right? Because you can't get through it for us, or you can't make us get through it. But what you can do is give tools. I said to myself, I think in our last session, I'm having this pen because I said, you know what? I need to start writing down more of these things. I think to myself, I'm going to remember them. And then I'm like, oh my gosh. But now I just wrote that down. Believe, encourage, partner, and empower. And I think those are 4, you know, really great words to do and to be, or to do for yourself, and then to do for others, right? Yes. Believe in them, encourage them, partner with them, and empower them. At the same time, I need to believe in myself. I need to encourage myself. I need to partner with me on some things. And I need to empower myself, right? So I can put that out there into the world, and I can also give that, you know, back to myself. Well, believe it or not, we are down to 1 minute, but I got that. Believe, encourage, partner, and empower. Those are going to be my words. Any final thoughts?
I think those 4 words do it, honestly, Taryn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because that's what we have to do, and to have people come alongside you and help partner with you to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it on your own.
And isn't that like, I'm so thankful for that, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, sometimes I think we try.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're getting some hearts on that one.
I love it.
I think that too. I'm like, sometimes we try, but the good news is, you know, we don't have to. And that is, you know, by grace, right? That we don't have to do that. We don't have to partner by or make it through it by ourselves. So with that, guys, we are going to end. This was Cheryl. Look, this is great. You know what I mean? So I just love the from the heart part. I'm really big on, you know, authenticity and speaking from the heart, and, you know, giving of my heart, and also helping people, you know, through their journeys. That's kind of why I started the show. It's just to learn people's journeys and hear people's journeys and share.
That's why we connect so much, Taryn.
Yeah.
Same thing with me.
Yeah, authentically, you know, us. So I'm going to leave you guys with believe, encourage, partner, and empower. And this is the TERRAN Lamb Show, episode number 79. We will be back next week, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have a story, I'd love to have you on the show. If you know someone who has a story, I'd love to have them on the show. If you know a couple who'd like to come on and be on the Valentine's Day episode and tell us their love story, I would love to have them on the show. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, following. And thank you for all the hearts. And thank you, Cheryl. And I will call you in just a second. Everybody be good to themselves and each other. Bye-bye.